What is up, guys? My name's Matt from Magic the Greatening, and today I got, unfortunately, not a budget deck tech. We got a green-white gods. You guys know I like making budget deck techs, but it's pretty hard to make a budget deck tech when a full playset of Oketra and a full playset of Rhonas costs up to $70 for all 4 copies of both those. So just decided not to make this a budget deck tech. It's going to cost about $190 main board and $30 sideboard. I know, but trust me, it's a pretty good deck. Let's get right into it. Let's get into the gods. A, because they're creatures and I like doing those first, and B, they're the reason I kind of made this deck. We're going to play 4 copies of Oketra the True and 4 copies of Rhonas the Indomitable. The theme of this deck is to create tokens to activate or create or put out a whole bunch of creatures for Oketra, and to get a whole bunch of kind of big creatures to activate Rhonas. Unfortunately, Oketra herself cannot activate Rhonas, but if you have Oketra and Rhonas out, you can use their abilities. You can use Rhonas' ability to pump Oketra to turn on Rhonas, and you can use Rhonas' ability to create a 1/1. And you will then have 2 other creatures. You'll have to have another one out, which shouldn't be too hard because the rest of our creatures are 1 and 2 drops. And we got some few Planeswalkers that create creatures too. So Rhonas' ability for 3, you can pay 3 and another target creature gets +2/0 and gains trample, which is very, very good with double strike. Which makes it a 5/6 indestructible double strike creature, and it turns on Rhonas. So it's very, very good combo there with Rhonas. And Oketra obviously have to have 3 other creatures. Again, we're not playing, anything. We play a whole bunch of token creators with our Planeswalkers, and we have a whole bunch of 2 and 1 drops. So this is not at all hard to turn on. All right, so let's talk about those other creatures. Just going to go over all of them right now. We're going to play 4 copies of Thraben Inspector, 4 copies of Servant of the Conduit, 4 copies of Longtusk Cub, and 4 copies of Aether Geode Miner. You notice that there's a slight energy theme through the deck. We're also playing 4 attuned with Aether to help things like Longtusk Cub get up to that 4 damage. And Aether Geode Miner is pretty underrated because you can pay 2 energy and you can exile and return him and keep him from being removed by sweepers. Longtusk Cub, again, it's just a really, really good card. If you're playing green, you're playing energy, you're playing Longtusk Cub. Just an early game creature that can pump himself to turn on Rhonas, just in case you don't have Oketra. So that is very, very good. Thraben Inspector is essentially card advantage for us. Unfortunately, it's the only creature that Rhonas' ability can't turn Rhonas on himself. But it's just really, really nice to have a 1-drop that gets us a clue that we can crack for some card advantage. So full playset of Thraben Inspector here. And as for Servant of the Conduit, A, it can be ramp. You can fit more spells into a turn, but B, gives us energy for things like Longtusk Cub and Aether Geode Miner, which are really, really good because Aether Geode Miner is a very, very underrated card. 2 power, 3 mana, hard to remove. It's something we kind of want in this deck. So I know the creatures seem underwhelming. I know they do. But this deck does beat down pretty well. It's got a lot of tricks up the sleeve. A lot of little synergies going on with Rhonas and Oketra here. So do keep that in mind while I go over the non-creature spells. Alright, so non-creature spells, we're playing a 4 attune with Ether, just to hit it lands. It's not technically ramp, but it can make sure we can hit our 4th land for things like Oketra. And also gives us energy, which is really, really nice with Longtusk Cub. An Aether Geode Miner, I guess Servant of the Conduit as well. We're going to play 2 copies of Blossoming Defense, just because it gives one of our guys Hexproof, which can be good against sweepers, or if they're trying to exile all our creatures, or they're trying to exile something. You maybe want to keep a Rhonas or an Oketra out. They try to Anguish Unmaking, Declaration in Stone, Cast Out, all these things. You give it Hexproof for the end of the turn, and Cast Out becomes kind of worthless. So Blossoming Defense is definitely a 2 of here in the main board. Let's go to the Planeswalkers here, and we're trying to create tokens, we're trying to get card advantage, we're trying to buff our team. So you probably kind of saw this coming. We're going to play 4 copies of Gideon, Ally of Zendikar, and 3 copies of Nissa, Voice of Zendikar. Both these create tokens, which is very, very good for Oketra. Gideon can pump our entire team, which is good for Rhonas. And he himself can turn into a 5/5, which A, counts as a creature for Oketra, and B, turns on Rhonas. So Gideon is really, really good in this. Nissa has a little less synergy with the 2 gods in the deck, but she can create tokens for us, which is kind of good with Oketra, even though they're 0-1s. You can put a counter on each creature you control, which is good if you have things like Aether Geode Miner out, or a Long Tusk Cub that needs a few more energy to get to a 4-4. And then her ultimate is very, very good, where you can just gain a whole bunch of life and draw a whole bunch of cards. So sometimes this goes unchecked. Both these, once you get both these out, it gets really, really insane. I forgot to mention, obviously, Gideon can put a 2-2 creature out, which is good because Rhonas can make it a 4-2 and turn himself on. So very good synergies there. All right, to the lands, we're only playing 23. Mostly a lot of 4-drops with things like Gideon and Oketra. The reason we're only playing 23 is A, we have Servant of the Conduit, and B, we have Attune with Ether. We have ways to get lands into our hands, and if we don't have any lands, we have ways to tap for mana. So that's why we're only playing 23. It let me fit in the Blossoming defenses, which really, really helped. So we're going to have 2 Canopy Vista, 3 Fortified Village, and 3 Scattered Groves, along with 7 Plains and 8 Forests. Scattered Groves is pretty good. You know, you don't need to draw land right now. You really need to hit something. Maybe you need to hit a Rhonas or an Oketra or something. Scattered Groves can help with that. I'm really, really liking this deck because it kind of seems underwhelming. You know, we're playing just a whole bunch of powerful things here. But there's a whole bunch of synergy. There's ways to dump mana into our creatures, like Rhonas and Oketra. You can dump mana into that to get bigger creatures, create creatures. You know, those two are pretty good in themselves because they're built-in pump spells and built-in creature token generators. We also have things like Planeswalkers, which can do the same thing for us. So there is that. Then we also have things like Aether Geode Miner, which is hard to remove. Long Tusk Cub is just annoying to play against. Servant of the Conduit can ramp us, so we can hit Oketra or Gideon on turn 3. And Thraben Inspector itself is card draw. And so the deck kind of seems like, okay, there's no like real end game, but the entire deck itself is the end game. Every card can end you the game in this deck, and that's the beauty of it. There's tons of ways for us to win. It's all just about beating down. They don't want to have to deal with a 5/5 indestructible death touch. They don't have to deal with a 3/6 double strike indestructible that can turn into a 5/6 double strike trample indestructible. So it's very, very, very good once you get the 2 gods out. Maybe have a few. If you get both Planeswalker, both gods out, there's no stopping you. You're just doing so much in one turn. Your opponent can't keep up. They sweep the board. It doesn't just, if they play things like Fumigate, Sweltering Suns, you keep your gods, they take away your tokens, but your Planeswalker keeps giving you tokens, Oketra keeps giving you tokens, Rhonas pumps them up, and you're just bashing in and bashing in and bashing in. So seems like it wouldn't do very well, but it does. It does do very well. On to the sideboard, we're going to play some things here. We're going to play 2 Archangel Avacyn, just because she's very good. The 4/4 for 5, that is Flying Vigilance, is pretty good in itself. And creatures you control get indestructible until end of turn. So if they try to remove your board of tokens and Long Tusk Cubs and stuff like that, Archangel Avacyn is good against sweepers. We're already pretty resilient against sweepers, but this just makes us more resilient. 4 cast outs as removal. Most of the times our guys are just going to be bashing in. They're going to be forced to chump, so cast out isn't really necessary in the main board, but we do have it in the sideboard just in case. 4 Descender's Deliverance against Aetherworks Marvel. That's literally the only reason it's in here. 2 Fumigates. On the flip side of us being good, we want to not be swept. Sometimes Fumigate is really, really good. You get rid of their set of zombies, but we're a little bit more resilient than the zombies deck, believe it or not, because Fumigate doesn't destroy our gods, and it doesn't destroy our planeswalkers. So we're able to build up our board actually more quickly than zombies do. So we do want to actually play 2 Fumigates in a sideboard, and 3 Stasis Snare as a way to get some key removal, get some guys that keep recurring from the grave, like Dreadwander and Scrapheap Scrounger. Stasis Snare is good against that. Also really good against Ulamog. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know this is not a budget deck tech, but it is so fun to play. Even if you have to proxy in the card and play it casually, I do recommend it. It is very, very fun. A lot of cool synergies going on. It's very, very good. It does have weak matchups against mono blue control because they just counter all your gods, and then you're just stuck with a whole bunch of creatures that can bash down, which is still pretty good. So it's fairly decent, especially if you're able to resolve one or even the second god. So thank you guys so much for watching. please vote for what you want, or next deck you want to see for the next episode here in a few days. Right in the upper right-hand corner is the little eye icon, the information icon. Go ahead and click that and vote for what deck you want to see next. And hopefully I will see you in the next one.